beyond the party issue, I think you accurately describe what's going on in the parties there. I mean, that's what happens. I see that it has to happen to some extent, otherwise you wouldn't have a party.
Well, it happened in the Independence Party. When I got there, they were also controlled by activists because they had cut off their national roots, which would be either Ross Perot or Pat Buchanan. They didn't want to be part of the Reform or the Independence Party. And actually, Donald Trump won the California primary in 2000 for president as a Reform candidate. Mm-hmm. But then he didn't want to go further with that minority party. He probably saw how many votes you get in that party. But all of the parties, they just have this problem. They become controlled by activists, and they have their own goals.
But
and a lot of money
activists
involved.
What make things happen?
Depends on what you mean by activists. What these activists do is control all the money, and they decide,
control the people and manipulate the system.
Who's going to have a chance to talk. And when they get there, if they don't please them, then they'll be retired. I just think we need to have a little more wide open discussion of issues.
Right.
So I'm talking about issues from day one.
And that you don't, both parties don't like to talk about the issues.
They see that as
I mean, as far as as far as the state convention goes, or even the caucuses, you get to put your party platform stuff, what you want to get on there, but most people don't want to deal with that.
Well, platforms
but this defines you.
Yeah, platforms are not meaningful. Everybody knows that a platform is just a collection of ideas to get the most support. And that's really what you're getting with these quotas in the Democratic Party. They're just representing different planks in the platform. None of it ever gets done because it couldn't be done. Most of it's ridiculous. I mean, it's like a government jobs program is going to solve unemployment.
Yeah, and there's definitely a distinction between the state party, like the Republican Party, the Democrat Party, and the state legislature. The Democrats that control the legislature, the Democrats that control, the Republicans that control the party inside the legislature, they're on two different, I mean, the state party and the legislative party are on two different wavelengths.
Now they are. Of course, originally the legislatures chose all of the federal officers.
Okay,
and so the Senate, it wasn't until they had the direct election of senators amendment. And as far as the House, I think they still have a pretty tight grip, and they do it through redistricting. But yeah, they've worked in a lot more expansion to the voters, and a lot of people don't realize that, well, there's been all this white privilege, and these people have got to control everything. Well, no, most of the people didn't have any power at all. It was controlled by people in the legislature who represented interests. And there's really nothing wrong with that, because those interests are very important to us. We want to create jobs. We want productive companies. Because if there's no opportunity there, there's nothing for us. We have to build it all over again. So there's nothing wrong with those powerful interests being represented. But they have to be a little smarter. Now, you mentioned the fraud with the daycare. You know, how many of the people didn't do any of that fraud?
Right.
And they're going to suffer.
Right. Because
they're in the daycare program, and there's all kinds of people in the state. I understand that Representative Jaskowski today was going to draft a bill to just get rid of the whole thing. It's not the role of the state.
The whole program.
But what about those people who need it? And so it's good when the leaders of both parties and the powerful interests can go in there and say, well, you know, this does have a purpose, but we definitely don't want this fraud.
Right.
It's possible that these dollars can be funding terrorism. They're disrupting the entire community, and they're not providing daycare, which is the only thing that we could possibly care about. And the reason we care about that is because women want to work. And if they have to take care of the children during those hours, they're not able to work.
Right.
So once you get over that, everybody can get together and they can help all the people.
Yeah.
And that's what I think should be being done in all of the bodies, the legislative bodies. And I think we have a great system. I think our Constitution is great.
Yeah.
It's really expanded to include more representation, but as we do, we have more and more problems, and we need to focus on those. So we need people like Donald Trump who can think on that level, who can see all of this and come up with action, and we need those kind of people in the U.S. Senate. I don't think Amy Klobuchar is one of those people. I think she's I saw her standing next to Chuck Schumer, smiling as they were shutting down the government. I have that picture on my Twitter feed. And she's just kind of going along with whatever they say. And so to have the Congress filled with that, it's almost as if before the Civil War, when people were just committed to all of these directions they were going, and everybody could see what was happening. I'm not suggesting that that's happening here, but there is this mindlessness, this kind of zombie effect that I think all the members of Congress have to snap out of it. They have to become thinkers like Donald Trump.
Well, yeah, and it's